So about 2 years ago, my husband and I did the camper life. We lived in a camper full time for about 2.5 years. We traveled all over, well, as far as we could until he went back to school, which had to be in person. We went to South Carolina, Louisiana, Mississippi. We went that whole route, from Florida. So we'd go overflight from Florida and go over to Texas and then back. And then we went to South Carolina with it to see his grandparents. And when we were traveling in it, life was great. I loved it. When we became stationary and it was no longer moving anymore is when I really started to hate the lifestyle. I despised it at that point because it was the whole point of doing it was to travel. It wasn't to have a stationary home. So, and we would be gone on breaks and stuff like that, and we'd really enjoy taking our time and seeing places. But when he went back to school, all that changed and we became stationary. Now we are considering doing the life again. This time he's not in school anymore. We can travel around on breaks. We can take weekend trips with it. Because during that time when he was in school, he had clinicals on Saturdays, so we were not able to go anywhere for 2 years. So, and not only that, but it was during the high time of COVID time where everybody RV spots were the same price as apartments. That's kind of where it came down to. So at first, when we first started, they hadn't quite caught up to the craze on the RV sites. So we were able to get a site near work and do that and then travel on breaks. When the craze kicked in, late 2021, early 22, they jacked up rent to the point that an apartment was the same price. Now, when you're paying a camper payment, you're paying the insurance and you're paying the site rent, that adds up a lot. So at that point, we're okay, we're stationary. We're not traveling anymore. We don't need this. So at that point, we sold. We had a 36-footer toy hauler. It was a Keystone Carbon. We bought it used. It had it was fine the first 3 months. And then our way back to Texas because we had to hurry back from Austin because there was a tropical storm coming through the Gulf and it was going to hit head on to Texas and Louisiana and that whole area. And we're we need to get out of here now or we're not going to make it home for another 2 weeks. We could have stayed where we were for another 2 weeks. We were at a state park, so it would have been fine, I think, because given the weather, they usually don't let you stay more than 2 weeks, but given the weather, I think it would have been fine. But we rushed home. And on our way of rushing home, I noticed something out the side of the side mirror. And I was there's something flapping. What's going on? So we pulled over. I thought it was an awning. Oh, if only I was right. Okay. No, it was not the awning. It was the roof. So the roof canvas had come up and it was flapping in the wind. Okay, we stopped off in literally every single state on the way home trying to fix this. Yeah, so we stopped off. In one state, and I can't remember what state it was. And then we did it ourselves. We went into Home Depot, literally parked the camper in the parking lot, went to Home Depot and tried to fix it ourselves. Yeah, that did not work. We finally got to Lake Charles, Louisiana. We found an RV place. We pulled in. We're hey, listen, we're from Florida. We're trying to get home. Can you do a quick fix on our roof so we can get home? And sure enough, the guy had his tech stop everything they were doing, and they helped us for 30 minutes. They got on the roof, they stapled it down, and they're this is only temporary to get you home. We're okay, got it. So we get home, everything's good. At this point, we're we need to put on a new roof. Now, we've only had this camper for 2 months at this point. 2 months, and we're already running into the biggest and most expensive problem a camper can have. If you have a roof problem, you are screwed. Just let you know now. Again, we were first-time buyers with this. I grew up with pop-ups. So, it's different. So, anyway, we're getting here. We're getting home, and we found this thing that you can put on yourself. It's a roller, kind of like a rubber type substance, and it can hold the roof for 10 years. Well, you have to have the right kind of weather to hold it. And it was doing nothing but raining for 3 days, like when we got home. So we're like, okay, let's wait. Well, the next week it hit rain. Now, again, in Florida, June is not necessarily a busy rain time month. July is our worst rain time month. So at this point, we're like, okay, the rest of our travel plans got canceled. We were going to go to Georgia. We were going to go to South Carolina. All of those got canceled because we're like, we can't fix the roof and we can't go on a trip with it like this because this is the problem. So we ended up getting like one of those like cheap like canopies, like the cheap like kind of canopy kind of finish, not the metal kind, like the cheap kind that you can buy for like $400. And we did that as a quick fix because we're like, we need to get an overhang over this thing. We need to fix the roof. We need to get everything done. Finally, by late June, we got the roof fixed. Late July, we got the roof fixed. Now, to do it this way, the way we did it, you have to have so many days for it to cure, whatever the heck. I can't even say the word right. So I'm like, okay, all right, fine. At this point, our summer was pretty much already done. And it's like, we can't go anywhere else this long distance because we have to go back to work soon. Like, we have to report back to work. So we're like, okay. So that was that time. Okay. And then Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving in 2021, we were finally able to go somewhere. Okay. So you're finally able to go somewhere. Okay. Now, May of 2022, my husband decided to go back to school. And at that point, traveling did not exist anymore. He had to be on campus 3 to 4 days a week. He had clinicals on Saturdays. It was not going to happen. So at that point, we're selling. But now we're really thinking about getting back into it because he's not in school anymore. We have our son, and we really want to travel again like we used to. And we have the dog, and our dog does not do well in hotels. Like, she does okay, but the first night, she has to acclimate. So on the first night, you can't just drop your stuff off and leave. That's not how it works with her. You have to stay with her the first night. Like, when you get there, she has to be able to sleep in there the first night in order for her to be okay. Having the RV made traveling a lot easier in that regard because it was her home. She knew, this is my bed, this is my couch. So we could literally park somewhere, hook up, and leave for like dinner, and she'd be fine. We can't do that in a hotel with her. So, traveling is a lot easier with the dog when it comes to the RV. So we are contemplating it. This time around, we know what we're looking for. We know the problems to look for. And I don't think we're going to finance. And that's the hard part, is because what we had before was 7 years old, and it was a good chunk of change being used. This time we're trying to find something that is older than 7 years old, something that we can pay cash for, which, like I said, is not easy because a lot of times the older the RVs are, the more problems you inherit. And because COVID was such a bad time, like for the world, it was really bad too for campers, because what they were doing was that people were going into the camping world and the lifestyle because they're like, okay, I can work remotely. I'm going to travel like I've always wanted to and just work wherever I'm at. And because of that, they could not make the campers fast enough. So they got to the point where they just started like basically cutting corners to get them out, just to sell them. And the new campers are trash. They're absolute trash. And we don't want a newer camper. We want something pre-COVID. So 2019 and older. The problem is, and if you're new to this lifestyle, to the camping lifestyle, a heads up. Some RV parks will not let you in if your camper's more than 10 years old. Now, if it's a state park, it's different. If it's a public park, it's different. But privately owned RV parks, they will not let you in if it's 10 years old. And if they do, you have to show pictures that it's in decent, like nice condition. So just be aware of that if you are shopping for a camper. The year plays a big part in a lot of ways. Not just with like how it's been kept up, but also like, is an RV park going to take it? Okay. Now, I have noticed that some RV parks have lowered it to 15 years, which is great. That's good. But again, the older the camper, the more problems you're inheriting. So this time around, because we're looking for a much older camper, we're being a lot more cautious. So And we're not going to do a dealer. We do not want to do a dealer because the dealers would tack on $2,000 to $3,000. Some tack on $5,000 to the price. And we're like, no, we're not dealing with that. So we're trying to find privately owned. And I think this time we're going to go with a fifth wheel. Our Keystone Carbon was a travel trailer. It was great. But it was a pain to back in, park, everything else. Yes, we had a big enough truck to do it, but it was still a pain. Fifth wheels are easier to park and just deal with all the way around. Like, they're just easier to maneuver. So I told my husband, like, I think this time we just need to do a fifth wheel, which means we had to put in the fifth wheel hitch in his truck, which this one did not come prepped for it. Our other one was prepped for it because that's how we ordered it. This one's not prepped for it, but it's fine. It took like, I think 3 days, something like that. I don't know. Ford said like 3 days, 4 days, something like that to get it all done. And I'm like, okay. So we're like really considering that because again, like if we're going to do this lifestyle, we're going to do it right. Like the first time we did it, it was just me, him, and the dog. This time we have our son. So we need to make sure we have ample amount of space. And this time we're going to be traveling a lot more with it. So the first year, like I said, we were traveling. After that, it just became nothing. For like 2 years, it was like nothing. But this year we're gonna travel a lot with it this time. So like little weekend trips, our breaks, things like that. We're gonna be on the road. So I'm actually really looking forward to the lifestyle again because, like I said, I loved it when we were moving. I just hated it when we weren't. You know, that's the only time I hated it was when we weren't moving. You know, so yeah, I get to kind of be a nomad again. I'm looking forward to that. And I get to share a lot of places with my son. Even though he won't remember a lot of it, I'll remember a lot of it. So yeah. And if you do have a camper and you do have good suggestions on a good fifth wheel that's solid, please let me know. We loved our Keystone. We did. We have considered Grand Design. We're staying away from Forest River. That is a hot freaking bed of mess right there. We're not touching Forest River at all. We've looked at Jayco's. We've looked at all sorts of different ones like online. We even kind of went in person a little bit. But we were looking at travel trailers at that point, not fifth wheels. Because at that point, we're just looking for a weekender, which is like a 20-footer just for the weekends. Now we're kind of really seriously considering full-timing again, which means we need a big boy. We need like at least a 35-footer. I don't want to go more than 42 because when you get to 42 foot, you're getting into problems of being able to find camping spots where you can back in. Because some state parks do not do over 40 feet long. So 42 is like, no. Under 40, we should be good. So yeah, if you have any recommendations on a great brand that's held up very well over the years, please let us know. Please let me know. Please let me know. Again, we don't mind Keystone. We'll go back to Keystone. I mean, it's fine. But we're also kind of open to other brands too this time. So yeah. But I hope you guys have a great Sunday and safe travels.